vaccinated, yes sir. Alright, about to go down.
She said it had to be on the 7th. And I said,
Want to say hey to the people?
could I do the 8th? And she's like, you would have to.
You want to say hey to the people? Coco? Yes sir. Love that. Hey man, y'all get vaccinated, bro.
It would be.
Let's end this virus once and for all.
I could do the day before much easier than this.
Sheesh. Kind of hate shots.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's all she wrote. See? Haven't grown any extra fingers yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all good. Thank you. What it do, YouTube? It's your boy MB, aka Ambitious. Back at it with another one. For those who don't know me, my name is Abraham Bankole. I'm a first-year orthopedic surgery resident in Austin, Texas. If you're new to my channel, welcome. So if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I'm all about keeping it real, talking about things I wish I had known. And one thing that's kind of really important right now and something I kind of want to discuss, COVID-19 and this vaccine. So I got vaccinated about a week ago now. Y'all saw in the clip earlier. And just to kind of let y'all know my symptoms so far, like I've only really had a sore arm, which is pretty common with vaccines. The reason why I want to make this video about the COVID vaccine is because I really just want to spread information, spread knowledge, and help people get informed on what's in the vaccine, whether the vaccine is safe, and just so you have more information to make a more informed decision when you get the opportunity to take the vaccine. When I posted on Instagram that I took the vaccine, I was about to take the vaccine, I had a lot of conversations with my followers on whether or not it was safe. A lot of people kind of had the same concerns, and I found myself having the same conversation multiple times with a bunch of different people. So I figured like, I'm just gonna make a video on the vaccine, whether it's safe, and hopefully, you know, give y'all more information so you can make a more informed decision when it's time or if you get the opportunity to take the vaccine. So I'm gonna start this video kind of acknowledging the elephant in the room, specifically when it comes to the African-American community and their mistrust of medicine as a whole. Listen, I understand that like Black people, we've been mistreated by medicine, you know, from the inception of time. You have the Tuskegee experiments. You have Henrietta Lack and lack of consent whenever they just took her cells without her knowing. You have the extremely alarming rates of Black maternity, morbidity and mortality in you know, Black pregnant women. You have the fact that symptoms that a Black patient may present with don't get taken as serious as our white counterparts, you know what I'm saying? And ultimately, when something new comes out, the Black community is always understandably more hesitant to accept said treatment or said thing because of what history has shown us. And I get that, I acknowledge that, I understand that. And also we understand the consequences of how racism has, you know, shaped the way we view things. But I hope this video can, you know, help inform, especially Black, Brown, Latino communities of color and minority communities that this isn't some sort of government scandal to try to further demarginalize us. And that's kind of why I'm so convicted to make this video, because we've already seen that COVID disproportionately affects the Black community, Latino community, indigenous populations, you know what I mean? And the last thing that we should do, or we can do, or we really want to do, is further perpetuate that by not taking the vaccine and subjecting ourselves to further risk in the future. So some of the concerns that I've heard about the vaccine is, you know, one, is it safe? You know, people are concerned at the speed at which the vaccine was created. People are concerned about, you know, there's been posts, people get like Bell's palsy. I've even seen some posts that the vaccine may or may not cause infertility. I'm gonna try to, you know, address all of those things in this video. But before we can get to that, I think we have to, you know, take a step back, you know, take it back to biology 101 and just kind of discuss like how vaccines work, you know, what are the purpose of vaccines. So I'm sure as many of you know, vaccines are essentially a primer for your immune system to respond to that antigen, virus, bacteria, etc. in the future in the case that it sees it again. So usually the vaccines that we've had so far have been either alive, killed, inactivated, you know, kind of thing where they actually put the virus or the bacteria in your body, your body's immune systems be like, oh, okay, I don't know that, creates a immune response. And then if you are exposed to said thing in the future, then you have a much more robust immune response to that same pathogen. Think about it like this. If somebody comes to rob your house and they use a specific key, right? And by the time you realize that you're getting robbed, the robber took half of your things. You know what I mean? And then let's say you install a system in your house where if that same key gets used again, now you're up, you're ready, you're strapped, and you're ready to take care of said robber before he has an opportunity to do the amount of damage that he did the last time. I know that's a kind of silly analogy, but essentially that's what vaccines are. This vaccine is a little different than most other vaccines because instead of putting, the killed or putting an activated or a live virus specifically inside of you, the vaccine contains the MRNA or the genetic instructions for the spike protein that COVID uses to infect our cells. Back to that analogy, essentially the key that allows COVID to get in our systems and wreak havoc. So the vaccine gives your body the instructions on how to make that key or that spike protein. Your body creates the protein and your immune system recognizes like, hey, this isn't a native protein that I'm used to seeing. It creates an immune response to said spike protein. And if you are then later subsequently exposed to coronavirus or COVID-19, then at that point, your body's already strapped, locked, and loaded to destroy the virus before the virus has an opportunity to infect your host cells, replicate, and obviously cause the damage that we know it can. So off rip, theoretically, you can't get COVID-19 from taking the vaccine because they're not actually injecting the virus into your body, just the genetic instructions so your body can create an immune response to the protein that COVID needs to infect you. And this isn't necessarily the first time mRNA vaccines have been used. I did some research and there's been mRNA vaccines used in other applications. And I'll link kind of the studies that I found in the description below. But I think that's part of the reason why this vaccine was able to be made at the speed it was made. Because once they sequence the genome for COVID-19, you have your DNA, then you can, UTAC kind of biology class, you can figure out the mRNA sequences for each portion, each protein on the virus. And once they figured out which protein does what, at that point they were able to mass replicate that specific mRNA or just the genetic instructions and then try to get it out to clinical trials to see how it actually responds in people when they're given the vaccine. To that point, I've seen posts on what's in the vaccine. I'm gonna try to, cite my sources in the description. The vaccine has the mRNA strand, it has some sugars, some lipids, and that's just to allow your body to help transport mRNA into the places that it needs to be so that your cellular machinery can read the mRNA protein and do what our body does. Now to the point of whether or not the vaccine clinical trials that we've seen are safe or not. So the vaccine that we got at our hospital was the Pfizer vaccine. There's also Moderna vaccine. I think there's another vaccine. So I can only speak to the Pfizer studies. And all of the studies and all the data is available to you. So if you want to look it up, you can go get it. But just reading some notes from my, when I was doing a little research, of the 1,800 people who received the vaccine, 8 of them tested positive for COVID later, and there was only really 2 severe cases. And 1,800 people received a placebo or just a shot with nothing, and there was a much higher rate of COVID positivity in that group. 165 people tested positive for COVID. So basically what that shows is there's a statistically significant difference in COVID cases and COVID rates in those who received the vaccine versus those who did not. Which, like essentially shows us that if you get the vaccine, your chances of getting COVID are much lower than if you don't get the vaccine. So in regards to the study design, the original study excluded pregnant women, but there were 25 women who ended up getting pregnant after the vaccine, and there was no adverse effects for the mom or the baby. So the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology actually recommend pregnant women to get the vaccine. So the claim that the vaccine causes infertility is just unfounded. Now let's get to the side effects of the vaccine. Most of the side effects that people had included injection site reactions, fatigue, headaches, muscle pains, fever that resolve quickly, and which are a common side effect from most vaccines. You know what I mean? I'm sure we all saw the post about the people who had like Bell's palsy or like, you know, ipsilateral like drooping of their mouth and things. And it was 4 people in that study, which is at the same rate of the natural incidence or the natural rate of Bell's palsy with or without the vaccine, just by random chance. So you can't conclude that the vaccine caused that reaction, because they were very much could have got that reaction just by chance alone. And that's part of the reason why I want to make this video, because I just want to make people understand that like you can't just see everything that gets retweeted, reposted, and just run with it, or just share it without context. You know what I mean? Because people can find any reason not to do anything, but if those things are unfounded, if those things are not backed by science, if those things are not reproducible, or really are just quite frankly like false, then that shouldn't be what drives your decision to do or not do something. So I just want us to be as informed as we can about this vaccine. And then from there, at the end of the day, you know, we all have the autonomy to make the choices we want, but you should make that choice with the right information. My mom sent me this WhatsApp post about the vaccine being, you know, the Antichrist. You hear about how like the government's trying to control you. All just unfound propaganda that really doesn't make sense. And I really just want us to take a second to think critically and ask yourself like, okay, like, does this vaccine benefit me, or are you willing to take the chance of getting COVID? And you know, you could be a young, healthy person watching this video, but we've seen young, healthy people get affected by COVID and have really, really bad outcomes. We also don't know what the 10-year, 20-year, 30-year post-COVID syndrome can look like. You know what I mean? I do understand that the vaccine data, you know, we don't really have the results of the effects of the vaccine 10, 20 years, 30 years as well. But the question you want to ask yourself is, are you willing, or are you okay with the chance of risking getting COVID, and not only about you, but infecting other people around you? So it's not, we have to think for the greater good of humanity. And while I could get COVID and necessarily, you know, only have mild symptoms, I don't want to then pass it to my parents, my grandparents, things like that. So that's another reason why I want to get the vaccine, to really just make sure that everyone is doing their part to get rid of this virus once and for all, and hopefully allow us to return to a normal life. Like I said, the purpose of this video isn't to convince anybody to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. I just want to present information and hopefully debunk, or like let y'all know that like a lot of the posts or a lot of the things you may have heard about the vaccine are just simply unfounded. And really, we live in a society where everyone wants to be the person that's reposted, retweeted. We all want to have the most clicks kind of thing. You just really have to sit down and be able to discern whether the post or the tweet that you saw makes sense or not. Anywho, that's all for this video. Please share to, you know, your loved ones, especially my people of color, because, you know, God forbid in 10 years, we as a collective decided not to take this vaccine. And, you know what I'm saying, we see that like we have a greater rate of this or a greater rate of that or a greater rate of this, or black people get COVID while other people don't. Like, let's do our part to keep ourselves safe. So share this video with your loved ones. If anyone, you know, is confused or wants more information on whether or not to take the vaccine, just send them this link, and hopefully this helps somebody out. Anywho, it's Ambitious Abe checking out. Until next time, stay hungry, stay humble. Let's get it.